Hello, everybody, and welcome to my first episode of my brand new podcast, The New 40. My name is Satveer Kaur, and I thought I'd just use the first episode as just like a quick introduction, really. Just give you a kind of like a little synopsis of who I am, my background, and what I hope to achieve with this podcast, and what I hope to bring to people, really, in a nutshell. So let's go. So my background is I'm a midwife, NHS midwife. I have been for the last 10 years. And last year I've also recently qualified as a nutritionist, and I've set up my own business, which I've launched this year, Kaur Aura, which is one-to-one coaching services where we help people toward their nutrition, exercise and lifestyle goals, which I'm so excited about. It is in its early stages, to be fair, but it's so exciting. I never thought that I would be taking a career change and just changing it up as I approach 40. And excited, and now I have this as well, this brand new podcast, which I'm so excited about. And mainly the reason for this podcast is to kind of document my journey as I approach 40 years old, and it's a 12-week fitness and nutrition journey that I'm on, where I want to get I want to be at my physically strongest, mentally I want to be at my strongest, and spiritually as well. Something that is a massive part of me is my spirituality, and that's something, as I approach 40, is something that I'm just so focused on and so more in tuned with than I have ever been felt before, if that makes sense. It probably didn't, but hopefully it makes sense to some. I kind of embarked on this massive changes that I made to my life at the start of January 2020, where I just made such changes to my life where it completely I feel like a brand new person, if I'm honest, and I feel like I got myself out of such a really low point in my life to here now. I mean, doing this podcast is something that I never ever thought would be something that I would be doing, but since making these positive changes in my life, it's just made me feel so free and just bold and brave to just do these type of things. And why not? Do you know what I mean? And I never thought I would be one of those type of people that would just, throw caution to the wind, as they say, and just go for it. And wow. Because I think ultimately back then I'd probably reached a really low point in my life where if I'm honest, I just felt really unhappy. I just kind of, with lockdown happening, I just used that time to kind of self-reflect and really, all those issues I had, or these feelings I had, or the, bad habits I was doing, I was suppressing a lot of thoughts and feelings, and I wanted so much more out of life, but I was just living with so much regret and sadness, and just really looking back on my life rather than appreciating where I was, what I was doing. Do you know what I mean? And it was a lot of factors that were making me feel like that. And I guess the big one was that I was really unhappy in my job, I guess, but it was the type of career for me that just never really aligned with me, if I'm honest. And I don't know, it just didn't feel like me. I wasn't really able to be the real me, if that makes sense. I was at work, you suppress who you actually are. But for me, just in general, and the job itself wasn't serving me the purpose to kind of make me feel happy. I was just in this vicious cycle. So many others that I was working with that felt exactly the same, and and it just got to the point where I was like, why aren't I making that move? What is it that's holding me back? And when it came to COVID and lockdown, and just gave me time to really self-reflect and think, if anything was to happen to me, and thank you God that it didn't, and the way I was having my poor habits, the lifestyle I was leading, it was unhealthy, and I was about to do some damage. I just felt it, I was suppressing a lot, and suppressing it with just bad habits, man, and and just I was suppressing my thoughts, feelings. I wasn't being honest with people. I was just like that kind of yes person, and just plodding on and going back home then with those coulda, woulda, shouldas, like, oh, I should have said this, I should have said that. But then you just reach that point where you're like, you know what, with COVID happening and all this, if I don't change my shit up, to be honest, then bloody hell, I don't want to go down like this. Like, seriously, I would have so much regret, and I didn't go out there and live my life, and I felt like I never really got to express who I was. And I never really, to be fair, in my whole of my adulthood, even my childhood, I've always been this kind of like shy, awkward, non-assertive person, but internally I had so much more to say. I was your classic kind of what we class now as an introvert. And I still am. I'm so glad that we have terms like that for it now, because back then you were just made to feel like some freak. But it's good that we move on and people's thoughts and feelings are getting recognised, and it's reassuring to know that you're not alone. But anyway, I feel like I've gone off on a tangent, but this is what this podcast is basically about. It's documented the whole career change that I've gone through, from going from a midwife to now going into my own business. And this is something I never thought that I was capable of. But it's only when I made these positive changes to my life that I really believed in me, and I really went out there and just, gosh, don't get me wrong, it's hard work, man. It still is. This is a whole journey within itself. But that is the whole point of it. Do you know what I mean? I'm on this whole journey to document it, because I just feel like, wow, as I'm approaching 40 years old, I finally feel like I'm becoming, like I'm reaching my true, authentic self, and I no longer feel afraid. And that sounds so crazy to some people, but I hope there's some that get where I'm coming from, because I was at a point in my life where I just it seriously could have gone another way. Do you know what I mean? Me approaching 40 could have looked ugly. Let's just keep it as that. But I'm on this whole new journey, approaching 40 years old, feeling, and if I'm honest, looking my bestest and feeling my best. Is bestest even a word? But I'm going to use it and just roll with it. But yeah, and I never thought that I feel at my happiest, and life just feels good. Like, trust me setting up my whole business, and it's hard work. It takes time, do you know what I mean? However, this is the whole point of this podcast, is documenting everything from, the kind of me achieving my body goals to setting up this podcast. So hence this first episode may sound a bit kind of funky, you may hear background sound and all that jazz, but honestly, if you see my setup, it's crazy, but it is what it is. And it's something that, it's the whole part of this process, this journey that I'm on, and hopefully we'll document it, and anyone listening, as we go along, recognise the whole improvements to it all. Do you know what I mean? That's what it's all about, guys. So I'm loving it, and whatever happens, and I'm just going to go with it. And I never thought I'd be one of those people, but it's just so good, and I'm so glad I've reached this point in my life, and hence my business. Like, honestly, when I kind of felt better, it's not just about looking better body-wise. I felt so better internally that I was like, shit, man, guys, there's got to be other people out there that have reached those kind of low points in life, and you kind of look back on your life and think that your life's over, but it's really not. And it's just all about making these small changes and just really having a whole new mindset, different mindset to things, and a different outlook, and just honestly, life and times that we really struggle, and we're in it together, man. But you know, from going from such a low point to being where I am now, it was one of those where I wanted to kind of spread that positivity and that kind of love to everyone, and just reach out to those that may be going through similar, and just be like, you know, guys, just hold on. And that's what I hope to achieve in my business, to just help people to be like, just get to the other side of how you're feeling. People get to these low points, but trust me, you will feel better. And I know it sounds cringy and cheesy, some people may find that, but it's the truth, you know, it's my truth. And so you either get it or you don't, and if you don't, then it's okay. Do you know what I mean? That's what we do. We just respect everyone's views, and if you don't understand what I have to say, then that's okay. You don't need to be listening right now. But yeah, so this is what this whole podcast is about. And honestly, people that are going to be listening in that actually know me are going to be thinking, what the hell is that? What? Who's taking over her body? Because I honestly feel like nobody has really like seen the real me, heard even the real me, and I feel like such like a different person, but in a good way. Like, this is just so, I feel like this is the real me, and I'm expressing myself the way I like to just have fun now, good vibes, and just I always try and see the positive of everything. And you know, I was one of those people that used to be like, oh, here we go, positive vibes and all that jazz, and not believing in it. But it was only when I actually, you know, when I reached that low point in my life, I was desperate, but I really wanted to try anything to get me to a better place. And what really worked for me was doing those small changes, was being kind of trying to overcome these negative thoughts by being more positive, by thinking different thoughts. And it was for me all about those affirmations and working on me and myself, and what is it about me, why do I feel the way I do. And you read a lot about it, and I was one of those that were really skeptical about it and in the past, but it's only when I really focused on it and used those findings that I read about, applied what I learnt and read about, all that motivational speech, it really helped me. Honestly, I applied it to my own life, and it was more to it. Do you know what I mean? It's more of that, all of that inner working. You know, I was one of those that was focusing so much on outside stuff, what was going on, and looking at external sources to make me feel better, and just being really sloppy with my life, man. Which we'll go into it as we get along in the episodes, but it's one of those, but it's only then I turned it around and just entered a whole new world. I feel so awakened, and I just got rid of all this toxicity around me, this negativity. I literally shut down all social media I had, shut it down completely, and I just worked on myself. So I didn't just I worked on my body. I finally was in tune with my nutrition. I was eating better, more healthy. You know, the kind of fad diets that I went through in my 20s, 30s, teens even, was just madness. And who would have thought as I approached 40, I finally got it together. And that's what's mad about it. It's just, crazy. And even qualifying now as a nutritionist, and, you know, wanting to help others to achieve this as well. It's just mad. And my fitness, I'm finally reaching body goals that I never thought as I approached 40 I'd be bloody achieving them now. It's so mad. It's so good. But this is what this podcast is all about, in episodes to come, to discuss all these kind of fad diets we did back then to kind of achieve, which something now I've kind of looked into it and learnt about it. It's just so simple to do. Do you know what I mean? To hit your body goals, to even eat healthy, to to get your body to the state to be fitter, to be stronger, to get mentally there as well. You know, it's just applying these small changes, gradual changes, and it makes you feel so much better. Simple things by eating better. It's so true. I'm so testament to the fact that if you eat better, just make small changes and you kind of get fitter. You know, really, improve on your fitness, exercise, even if it's like you don't need to be at the gym. Do you know what I mean? Exercise isn't just about that. It's just be active. Just really do something every day to keep you fit, man. And it just makes you feel so good. Just look good as well. You feel good. You know, as you get older, I think it's one of those that we really should be focusing on. And if anything, start young, man. Work on your body really good. Invest your time to it. It's your freaking vessel, man. It's what's keeping you alive. Just, gosh, when I think of the ways that I was neglecting my body and just really these sloppy habits and fad diets and all that jazz and the poor nutrition, really neglecting. You wonder why you feel like crap and you have no energy. Do you know what I mean? It's all connected, and all it takes is just small little changes, and it's really good. And it is all a process. So yes, that's what it's all about. So yeah, that's what this podcast is going to be about. So I've got lots of things to come, and that's what I mean. It's all going to be good vibes. I am going to have someone else with me, joining me on the next episodes, which will be great. And I always think it's good when you have someone, because then you can kind of, but you know, when you have each other to kind of be a soundboard and have someone to discuss things, because at the moment trust me, I'll probably sound like repeating stuff, so I do apologise, and I do apologise for any background noise as well. But you know, it's all a learning curve. Like honestly, the amount of things I've learned so far, and even as much as I'm learning my business, this whole podcast is another thing, and it happens. So if you do hear background noise, I do apologise, and you will see the changes. I'm, looking into it as we speak, and you'll see and hear the improvements as we go along. And that's what it's all about. And I want this podcast as well, not just for you guys to listen in and listening to my kind of documentation of my whole journey. I want it to elevate you, encourage you guys, man, empower you to do it. You know, we're always at stage where you're like, I'll do it. You know, I'll make those changes, necessary changes when, this happens. You're waiting for something to happen, but just do it. It's been hard. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not easy, but you just, once you step out into that unknown, you honestly, the universe has your back, and you'll have these moments. And honestly, if it aligns with you and you just know you're on the right path, and wow, that's where I've reached this stage in my life that I'm like, woo. So sorry if this episode rather sounds a bit wobbled, however you pronounce it, but yeah, it will be a lot more structured, the next episode, and more the next ones after that. But yes, and just to, I'll be honest, the delay was partly due to me and just kind of my confidence levels, I guess. I think it's just this whole concept of speaking out there and, having a podcast. As much as I'm so excited and I really want to do this, do you know what I mean? There's also that side of me where you feel like, how am I going to be received and all that? But I have to just focus on it. And as much as I want this to help others listening in to kind of change their lives for the better and not feel so alone and reach out where they can, it's a good outlet for me, and just expressing myself. And that's what this podcast is going to be all about. Just good vibes, silliness, just having fun, laughing. That's what it's all about. Good vibes only from here. Okay, on to the next thing. But yeah, lastly, I do want to mention as well, something that is a massive, massive part of me is my spirituality. When I decided to make massive changes in my life, there was definitely a spiritual element to my change. Something for sure spiritually connected with me, where I found this inner strength and self-belief in me to make these much needed changes in my life before I self-destructed, to be honest. So honestly, it gives me chills just thinking about it, because I just know there was a definite divine intervention that I felt. It made me feel that I was just capable of making all those changes, and I did. So this is something along the way I want to further explore and discuss, in episodes to come. We'll also be talking about how life experience have completely changed your outlook on life as you get older and you grow as a person. Just be real good, feel good vibes. We'll be discussing personal stories of others that have embarked on their own journeys and are making better choices and leading better, healthier lives. This podcast is all about individual change. We want to block out any outside noise. We're going through really tough and testing times at the minute. Who knows what the future is going to hold out there? So we've created this space where we only want to discuss things that are going to empower you, inspire you, enlighten you, encourage you to truly live your best life. Man, we want you to be bold, brave, have the courage to step into your true, authentic self too. Before I go too deep into things, I'll leave it at that. And on the next episode, we'll be joined by my co-host, who is training and working with me on my body goals. So we'll be discussing the week's events as well as other fun topics. And trust me, I won't be so robotic like this. I think it helps when you do have someone there with you to kind of talk about things. As much as I'm loving this outlet, it'll be good to have someone that you good discussions with, share some good stories, give some good advice, tips, and it will just be a blast. Trust and believe that. So I'm looking forward to it. But in the meantime, if you want to keep up to date with us, then follow us on Instagram, Kaur Aura _ and check out I can't even talk now. Check out our website at www.kauraura.co.uk. So until the next time, guys, see you later.